Hey, greetings, Dr. Jeffrey Scott here. This is my Market MRI Pro update for Thursday, July 17th, 2025. Well, it's almost as if the market participants said today, what tariffs? As we saw a broad-based rally and the S&P 500 and the Nasdaq setting new highs. Again, my name is Jeffrey Scott. MarketMRIPro@gmail.com is my email, and my Google Groups name is Top Down Trader. As always, this should be taken as education only. Anything I recommend or discuss is in the spirit of education and not investment advice. The intent of the video is to demonstrate the tools of top-down analysis and how I apply them. Trading involves risk, and you alone are solely responsible for any investment decisions you make. I may own or intend to buy or sell any stock I mention. We all know trading stocks and options should be considered risky. You should always consult with your financial advisors. And remember, I'm a cancer doctor, so I'm not a financial advisor. And as we know, I also have tools in multiple platforms. My Google group is called Top Down Trader. Why join? Well, one, I don't always post these on YouTube. Two, you get discounts. Three, it's free. And four, I do a bunch of free education, and I don't always invite anybody outside of my Google group. Why not? Just go to Google Groups, use your Google ID to sign in, go to all groups, search for Top Down Trader, and love to have you join our family. News and earnings. So we're going into Friday. You can see, well, the big thing, Thursday night Netflix earnings. Right now they're down about 1% from where they closed. Earnings were great. It's not as if they've done anything that sounds bad, but I think sometimes it's about expectations, sometimes even more than what the actual numbers are and the numbers that people project. Right now, for example, it's at 1263. It went out at 1274. You can hear the whoosh come in the market right now if you listen real close, which is all the premiums coming out of the options for Netflix, because this is well within its expected range. Friday, we got housing starts, building permits, and consumer sentiment. We still got, since it's only 5:15, some Fed heads to talk. Futures are not out yet. I think this is the last time they can speak before they go into quarantine from a speaking perspective until after they have their meeting. Bad judgment call to hold stocks over earnings dates. Bad judgment. It's a judgment call to hold stocks over earnings date. It is bad judgment to not know when your earnings date is scheduled. And you can see Friday we got 3M and a bunch of banks, Autoliv, and Schlumberger. More information if you have Market MRI Pro and you have any questions about installation or support. It's coding at marketmripro.com. If you're interested in ordering it, I maintain the sale another week, which was a $300 plus $100 if you sign up at Top Down Trader. Just reach out to me at marketmripro@gmail.com and consider joining the Top Down Trader group for exchange of information. Let's go take a look at charts. If we look at the performance of the markets, you could see Russell was up 1.31%, finishing above the 90th percentile of the range. The Qs were up 0.81, also at the 90th. The Diamonds up 0.65, almost at the 90th. And the Spiders 0.6 at the 90th. So up and down some during the day, but boy, finished strong. Very strong on the day. Dollar at 0.44 was below the middle of its range, but up. Volatility down just a bit, and Bitcoin relatively flat. If we look over here, we look at new high, new lows at 12 months on the NYSE versus the Nasdaq. Creeping up at 88 and 79. Bull markets are built on new highs, not new lows. If we look at the one-day change on the S&P 500 sectors, you could see the only things lagging were healthcare, probably because of the big insurers like Elevance pulling it down. Real estate was flat, and then at the top were staples, financials, driven a lot by earnings, industrials, and technology were the ones up 0.9 or higher. Over here, down here, you can look at themes that we're working today: lithium, mining, cannabis, clean tech, robotic vehicles, robots, oil exploration infrastructure, blockchain, Chinese discretionary, global robots, Internet of Things. It's a growth day. It's the kind of day that I like as a growth stock investor. And then you can see here that sectors versus the day before, both were strong. Industry groups versus the day before. Across the board, we did better today than on Wednesday. And notice we're looking at the S&P 1500 stocks, the Nasdaq Composite, the NYSE. 75%, 66, and 66% were positive, respectively. That's a powerfully strong day, folks. Strong day, you don't expect a change in the timing model when it's already long on both the short term and the intermediate term, and frankly, the long term monthly. We did get to all-time highs, closing highs on the Spider and the Qs today, sort of resumed their uptrend after their little hammers that we saw in the markets on Wednesday. The Diamond's probably taking out its flag height, and maybe even could say the same thing about the Russell. Things look very strong here. Obviously, things don't go up forever, but right now they look bueno if you want them to go higher. If you look at the weekly, it takes a second to pull the data. You could see the weekly close at all-time high, although the week's not over. And if we were to close higher than the top of these dojis, it's a high close doji, although in an uptrend I sort of ignore it. But this is pretty strong looking market action, and you could see the buy-sell is green across the board. If we look at the index ETFs today, you know what they're going to show you. So let's just look very quickly. Up 0.6 on the spiders, new closing high. Are we ready to break outside the consolidation? Well, the high on this day was 627.86, and the close here is 627.99. 628.40 was the high. So we've taken out the prior intraday high as well. Maybe we break out of the range. Maybe we still go sideways. Time will tell. We've pulled into the 17 and bounced. The Qs, very similar story. The high in the session today looks like 562.31. It was up 0.81. And the high over here was 560.80. So we've taken out prior intraday and closing highs. Frankly, can't tell you if it's going to break out here and go higher or if it's going to stay in this range, but you got to be optimistic. You pulled to the 17 and you got a hammer. The diamonds, a little different, up 0.65, and they broke out of their flag today, so maybe we see them get a nice move. And even the Russell was up, and the Russell led up. Here it says 1.31%. That's a pretty strong day, and you can see closing right off the highs. So very exciting day in the U.S. markets. And volatility, you'd expect it to be lower. It was 3.5%. And then the dollar is trying to figure out what to do. It was up 0.44, but with a doji. So clearing the 50. The dollar's been in a downtrend for quite some time and probably didn't hurt the rally. Broke out of this trend line resistance. So we'll see what the dollar does. But we might want to keep an eye on that as we look for reasons to exit. On the commodities front, dollar going up, probably not good for the commodities. Plus, as we start buying stocks and risk goes into the U.S. market, probably doesn't help the commodities, although we'll see silver was up. Gold down 0.23. Silver, that's a high close doji, and it was up today. Let's see, we got that number. I didn't want to do that, did I? So let me just go this to 100. And so silver, it's fine. Here we go. It was up 0.70. Oil bounced a little bit at the 17, was up 1.29. Natural gas did not go higher. Then the 10-year was up 0.09. The 30-year was down 0.1. And what I'm looking at a lot here is this 5% range. And if you see, we opened at 503, we're as high as 504, low as 498, and we closed right above 5 at 5.01. I still think that's a possible risk to the market. If we look at the buckets, you can see we're starting to accumulate at the upper part of the Nasdaq with 8%. But for the most part, I'm seeing what looks like about I guess a bell-shaped curve, it's telling me the market is not giving me any evidence of extension to the upside or the downside. On the market breadth, you can see a powerful day here on both the NYSE and the Nasdaq Composite, but the Nasdaq finishing at a new high, the NYSE perhaps breaking out of a flag. Volume, according to Market Surge, is a little bit elevated on both of them. You could see we turned higher on the stocks above the 20, 50, and 200 on both of these, but not at an extreme. And then if we look at new high, new lows, we already talked about those being positive. Advanced decline lines were positive. Up-down volume was positive. And the only one of my market signals that triggered today looks like another Bango, which is just a kind of an overbought, but what it's really showing you is excessive exuberance to the upside. If we look at the other market breadth tool that I like to look at, you could see the new closing highs on the Spider and the Nasdaq Composite. You could see the S&P 1500 also looks like at a closing high. Pretty awesome. And the Russell breaking out of its flag and heading up to perhaps test the recent highs. And these are daily charts. What I wanted to look at here, so we're at 85% of the new high, new low on the Spider, 90% on the Composite, 89 on the S&P 1500, and 93 on the Russell. So when we get above 95, I get a little bit nervous, but we're not there yet. That means we could still go higher. And you don't have to work it off if it gets too high by collapsing. You can work it off by sideways movement. Don't need to spend much time now talking about the RSI divergences that we saw. You could actually see we're setting a new high in the RSI and the Composite. But you clearly can see the markets were higher and the RSI dropped. I think we'll call that magenta, the AD lines all nicely pointing up. So market assessment, we keep going higher till we stop. We will stop someday. It could be Friday. We have some options expiration that might drive some volatility. Could be we wait till Liberation Day in August. We are going into a softer part of the season, of the market seasonality, but it's hard to predict when that happens, so I'm still to the long side. I've got some really profitable options expiring tomorrow, deep in the money, hoods, and a few other things. I am likely to raise a little bit more cash. Why? Because I like raising cash going as we're in new highs, and then buying and spending my cash when we're at new lows. So I like to build up some cushion because at some point we're likely going to pull back. On the ratio charts today, which are ratio charts of the various sectors versus the Spider, up here is Bitcoin. You see it was a little bit, gave up perhaps a little bit today. Communications bouncing off the bottom. Discretionaries come down. Staples are down. Industrials are holding up okay. Healthcare looks horrible. Financials making a little bit of a recent recovery. Energy, not so much. Materials, no. Real estate, no. Big winner, technology and utilities are lagging. So it's still tech, industrials leading this market, and maybe we're seeing something from financials. Now we're going to go into what's called the JAS layout. This is built so you can construct your own layout. You call it whatever name you want. Do you want to have a scanning window, radar screen? How many windows do you want to have? But it's my program, so I called it the JAS layout. And I've got a lot of folks that follow me and use it as well. But everything's customizable. In fact, we originally built this program to support my trading, and I liked it so much that we decided to take it to the market. Speaking of liking it so much and taking it to the market, had you been on my Sunday call or the Sunday video, and I picked which stock I was going to trade, and the stock I picked was Centrus Energy, and I went through several different option strategies. If you were on that, you know that my goal is to identify the best strategy that has unlimited upside and the least cost to get in. And in the setting of very expensive stocks, I have to give up on one of those, and sometimes I'll give up on the unlimited upside and trade it for something like a broken wing butterfly. Well, look at LEU. So 1, 2, 3. This is where it was on Sunday, and we've had 4 solid days, although we gave up the gains on Tuesday after the big run on Wednesday. So if when we did the video, it was 200 and I guess 4. It was back here. 1, 2, 3. 205, 206. I remember 200 calls were $26, and those same $26 calls, if all you did was buy calls, 4 days later, those calls are now trading at $45. So if you bought 10 of them, you can afford my program plus some money to go out and buy yourself some other presents. It was a great day on Centrus Energy. Why did I pick it? I picked it because pull back to the 17, and then on Friday it had a nice up move. Actually, this was Thursday. It had a big up move off the 17 on decent volume with a breakout momentum, and you can see the relative strength in the OBV starting to separate. It went up again on Friday, and I thought it was strong enough that I'd take it on my video. Futures are even trading up on it. This thing is nuts. I recommended yesterday taking some profits. When you run up this fast, typically you're going to get a pause and a pullback before it goes higher, kind of what you see here. So I'm looking for that, and then you have another chance to enter. But I didn't say sell at all. And you can see today it was up another almost 3%. Woohoo, $6.63 gain today. If we look here at my impulse list, it's a list that includes stocks in the Nasdaq, the NYSE, and the Amex. I filter them for $1 and 100,000 shares just to throw out non-trading stocks. I don't typically trade stocks less than 5 and 500,000 shares, but I keep them in here for an inclusive list, 3,734. Every one of them are in sectors and industries. So unlike the S&P 500, which are sectors which are just 500 large stocks, I've got them all. So let's go into the top down and let's take a look at what we see. And then let's go, that's the sectors. Here are the industry groups. And every industry group is in here. But what I like to do typically is let's pick the top 3 industries. Energy. Interestingly, with energy not looking great in the S&P, on a broader it was actually positive. And the financials, let's throw in technology. So let's take the leading sectors. And then let us look at, now we're just the much less number of industry groups in those sectors. And we have 1,787 versus the 3,700 stocks. And let's just take the top 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Let's see what we got here. We got oil and gas drilling, coal, manufacturing, electrical equipment, manufacturing tools, accessories, uranium, asset management. We've seen a lot of these the last couple of sessions. Security, asset management, global, and construction. Gave us 196 stocks in the 10 industry groups, top 10 inside the 4 best sectors. Now, first thing I'm going to do is take out those that are less than $500, $5 and 500,000 shares. And I'm left with 101. I'll show you 3 different ways that I rank them. I'll look at short-term momentum. So let's just go through this very quickly. SNA, let's wake up the server. I know it's in the midst of an update right now, but that shouldn't hurt us. All right, here's Snap-on Tools, SNA, uptrend pullback. It's kind of a very loose pattern, but here was a big move up above the 200. Was it on earnings? Simple. I'll open this up. I'm going to leave it up for right now. Earnings 717. Surprise on the earnings and revenue, even though there wasn't much earnings or revenue growth. It pays a 2.25% dividend. It's got a market PE of about 1848. I can open that up or just, and you can see earnings and sales beat. And if you want, you can always want to read the report. You just click on the link. I think that was a really good job that Praveen did in building that. So I didn't even let you see it, but I could say, trust me, it's there, but I'll actually show you. Here's a earnings report. Next one is BlackRock. America goes the way BlackRock goes. They have such a big part of the U.S. markets. And so when you see BlackRock just off of all-time highs, you got to be excited. 2% dividend, um, growing earnings, um, slowly growing revenue. Last earnings were out 2 days ago, so you're safe until October. Got to like the picture here. BlackRock looks to go higher. And this here in pink is the 5-year seasonality. Interestingly, in the lighter color, it's the 10-year seasonality. Next one down is Hubble Incorporated. Again, you can see earnings are July 29th. Excuse me. We are in earnings season. You could see surprises and changes over time. Nice breakout here. SOC, don't know this company. Sable Offshore must be a driller. Very junky looking chart with big moves. 7-point move here. Um, this one was on our list yesterday. Victory Capital pays a 2.39 dividend. Train Technologies, sideways move after a run and a breakout. Looks like pretty strong seasonality. Earnings are the 30th. Look at the earnings per share growth. Revenue growth, lots of surprises. That looks interesting. It had volume breakout momentum coming out of a squeeze. And really my supporting actors of relative strength breaking versus the SPY moving up off its moving average, as is OBV. And up here we can look at that top line. It says 61.26 not extended. I like train here. HLNE, another one of the asset managers. We looked at this, I think, yesterday. This looks great still. This is Blackstone, BlackRock, Blackstone. These are the big names. Here's my little friend, Centrus Energy. Now, you might ask, is that all-time highs? The answer is no. It's nothing. There's been a lot of reverse splits here. That should make you nervous. But it looks like it was dead for 10 years and it's coming alive. So hence why take off profits. This is a stock that's got a pretty interesting past, but it's a uranium play, and we know that nuclear is hot. Allegiant PLC, pullback and a breakout. Earnings are next week, probably too soon. Apollo, definitely not extended here. Pays a little bit over 1% dividend, 1.23% dividend. You could see changes and surprises on earnings and revenue. That doesn't look bad to me. It's got a CPR on Wednesday. It's an EMS. You had 2 big volume days in a row. Had breakout momentum yesterday and a separation with relative strength in the OBV. There's a lot to like in this market now. Stepstone, I don't know them. I suspect they look like they might be another asset manager. KKR is the one that I own. You know, to say they all look the same would be a lie. BlackRock's higher up in its pattern, but there's a lot of these that look alike, and they're moving. Ares is another one. This one pays 3.74. Go down a couple more. BN, Brookfield Corporation, teeny weeny dividend. T. Rowe Price, God, I didn't know they still existed. And then out of financials, Vertiv Holdings, one that had a great run back here. It's in a beautiful run, had a pullback. Earnings are not, we don't know the date of earnings, but probably in the next week or so. So of all these, I still like LEU, although it's going to get extended soon. I like the asset managers. What's not to like about BlackRock? That's one way of dissecting it. Here's another way. Let's just look at percentage move today. VRT, EOSE, I don't know this one. EOSE, Energize, Enterprises. It'd be nice if we could put in something that gives us a little bit about what the company does. I'll see if I can't get that. We've got various data feeds that we put into the program. Zinc, batteries. I don't like to see all these lawsuits. Although most of them are, I won't say the word, but it starts with bull. Hub again, MAGN, too low in its pattern. There's your BNR, BX. Canadian Core Natural Resources. I saw this weekend. I didn't really give it much credence. It's a coal play. Um, Pays a dinky dividend. NBT, Electric, it's already had a big run. I want to find things coming out of a base. BAM, Brookfield Asset Management, kind of looks like LEU when it started off, pays a 3.8% dividend. 8.6, you're going to have 39 cents versus 34. Not much growth, about 16% growth. So it's not growing a lot. Asset management. And then Seadrill, so oil services stock, failed at the 200. That's until proven otherwise. I'd assume the same thing would happen again. The third way is let's just put them in pullbacks and uptrends, and let's rank them by the number of up dots and see if any of these look good. Here's Snap-on Tools. I mean, it's not one of my favorite names by any means, but uptrend, pullback, and breakout, lots of blue dots, and the relative strength at OBV look good. I have no issue with Snap-on Tools. The market certainly liked the earnings. Earnings are out. It pays a little bit of a dividend. Allegiant, I just don't know this company very well. Potentially breaking out. Seasonality is kind of sideways. And earnings are next week. VRT is in something to do with, I thought it was coolers of data centers. They had this pullback because somebody announced something competitive, and then it came out and said, no, it's not competitive. It does, you use both of them. This one has done well with the data center story. TKR, Timken, Steel, I believe. So that's another way. So 3 different ways to slice and dice as a top-down trader. And not that I'm going to do anything with it, but the other thing you could do is you could have just said, I don't care about the sectors. I just want to pick those top 10 industry groups. And we would have picked up food confectioners and footwear and pharmaceuticals, interestingly, had we done that. So that's top-down investing. That's what I like to do. But then I have I can't help myself. I like to find what's moving now, and I call that bottoms up. Or they call that, everybody calls it. So here's my 3,700 stocks. Let's kill my filters, and let me show you my secret weapon. 500,000 shares, $5, and 2 days of momentum. Give me a list. Let's look at these. AIRS, healthcare company that's actually trending up. Cheap stock, love the breakout from the base here on volume, breakout momentum from a squeeze, relative strength at OBV, and not extended. I like that. And what I'm looking at here are these 2 blue dots above the yellow. Those are the 2 momentum dots. I pull here. Earning calls out. I don't know what they do. Premium body contouring procedures. Could use some free samples of that. BWXT had a great move here. Just pull back. And when I see these 2 dots, I typically, if it's coming out of a base, I get excited. It's a short base. CAEP, I remember the store, I think it's a Bitcoin aggregator like MicroStrategy, a new one. CAI, Caris Life Sciences, think Tempus, have a recent IPO. CMPO, don't know anything about this. Composite Secure. HLNE, Hamilton Lane, financials, don't know what they do. 2% dividend. HYPD, RadNet, Healthcare. RDW, looked at this one yesterday. Redwire, again, don't know what it does. Had a big breakout today after a hammer yesterday. 2 momentums in a row, good volume. And again, the separation of the green from the yellow and the white from the yellow of relative strength and volume. That's what I'll be watching. Road, Construction Partners, base, breakout, big volume. There's my 2 dots, relative strength and OBV, not extended. Shopify, a name that I love, similar pattern. Run up, sideways move, and a breakout. That one looks kind of interesting to me. You can see back here, 2 dots here. What happened? It got up and it ran. 2 dots here. moved up and it ran a little bit, but never pulled back and it kept going higher. Will we get it again? We got the two dots back here and now it's running. SRE, it's a utility, too far down for me. SSII, XGN, Exogen. Don't know what it was. I was tempted to buy it today, but I don't know what it does. Out of a squeeze, volume breakout momentum, relative strength not moving much yet. OBV is moving. Again, here were the two blue dots. Here's a stock I didn't know. You buy it, you got a nice little run, especially if you held on to it. So it's a signal that has been incredibly successful when we've taken buys of otherwise decent setups. Same thing with Zyma Genetics. Sideways mover, took out the 200. Volume breakup momentum, relative strength OBV. This one looks good as well. I just gave you a bunch of stocks in 30 minutes. Now, on Sunday, I picked the one I like the best and I work it up with my options. I think asset management looks good here. I think that several of these we just looked at look interesting. Do your research. Don't just buy because I like them. But I just want you to sense how you can look at the market either from the bottoms up when you take the whole market and run some scans against it, or from the top down. For those that got the program, I've just built in 2 or 3 new systems that will be launching with an update hopefully in the next week or so, things that we've been talking about. Have a great night. We'll see you over the weekend, and 2 videos, one on Friday of what I think the market's doing, and then again on Sunday, we'll see what stock I pick and I want to work out. And I just leave you with a picture that I might as well take my victory lap because sometimes you get lucky. Nah, it's patterns, buying patterns. Take care, everybody.